Kentucky?
Are you an education cheapskate?
In part one of this program, we took a look at this quotation from the Kentucky Department of Education's recent news release that charged that Kentucky scored dead last in a ranking of per capita expenditures of state and local governments for education. We also learned that the Kentucky Department of Education's ranking didn't come from the U.S. Census Bureau. It was developed by the National Education Association. There's a lot more problems with the department's quotations rather than who made those rankings. The issue is that NEA ranking fair? Is Kentucky's funding per capita for education really in last place? No, it isn't. Let's look at the problems with how the NEA developed their ranking. The NEA's data comes from this table in the U.S. Census Bureau's website. This table starts out by showing the population in each of the states. If you scroll down the table, it has this line item, elementary and secondary, which shows the amount of funding for elementary and secondary education broken down by a combined state and local amount as well as individual local and state separated amounts. The data in Table 1 may look reasonable, but there's actually a very big problem. The elementary and secondary line does not include expenditures for either teacher health care or teacher retirement programs. As a consequence, the NEA actually used the wrong stuff to compute their per capita spending rankings. It doesn't include everything that you pay for education. So let's take a look at the right stuff. This is found in a document titled Public Education Finances, which is issued annually. This document does come from the U.S. Census Bureau. And Public Education Finances is carefully assembled by the Bureau to give as fair, apples-to-apples, state-to-state education spending data as is possible. One of the tables in this document, Table 1, provides a summary of public school system finance. It's broken down by totals from federal sources, state sources, and local sources. Another table we're going to use is Table 18. This has state population information and personal income information for the years in question. We put that information to use in our calculations of Kentucky's rank for per capita income in 2003 and for the state's rank for elementary and secondary education revenue for the 2003-2004 school year. Here's what we found. Our rank was 43rd for per capita income and 45 for education revenue. In other words, we're probably paying about as much as we can afford for education. In looking at these figures, we need to consider as well that Kentucky has a fairly aged population. That means our funding effort per capita may be even more generous than the rankings by themselves would indicate. This raises another problem with the NEA's data. The best school finance analysis doesn't deal with per capita figures. It uses per pupil data. By the way, the census also does its own education rankings. Those rankings are found in two tables, Tables 11 and Table 12 in the Public Education Finances document. I want to stress that the rankings that are shown in black that follow are from the U.S. Census Bureau. They are not from an analysis of census data by any outside organization. This slide shows Kentucky's rank for various sources of funding income. The first listed is state sources. This is basically the SEEK money that is controlled by the state legislature. We rank 26th for that among all the states. Local sources of income are ranked at 44th, and Kentucky's federal sources of income rank us 19th among all the states. I also put here in red the rank for per capita income that we discussed earlier. I emphasize those red numbers are not from the U.S. Census. They are here for comparison purposes. I want to reemphasize the state sources money where Kentucky ranks 26th. It's this money that the Kentucky Department of Education is upset about. It's this money that the Kentucky legislature directly controls. And it's in this area where Kentucky actually ranks in about the middle of the entire country for the amount of money that we provide to schools. Table 11 contains additional rankings for different spending items. For example, total spending without any capital expenses included ranks Kentucky 40th in the nation. Teacher salary, however, ranks somewhat better at 36th place, considerably above our per capita income figure. Benefits tied to that instruction for teachers rank similarly at 37th, And finally, general administration ranks quite high at 27th. Now, unlike educators here in Kentucky, the financial experts at the U.S. Census Bureau understand that it's more difficult to fund education when per capita income is lower. And that's why they created Table 12 in their document, which relates spending to the taxpayer's ability to pay for it. There are two areas in here we'll point out, although there are many, many rankings. First of those is the elementary and secondary revenue from the state sources. Once the taxpayer's ability to pay is considered, Kentucky ranks a very high number 16. And in the area of our ability to pay our teachers' salaries, Kentucky actually ranks 19th for the amount of money that the taxpayer puts up in relationship to the taxpayer's ability to pay. That's above average and something I don't think many of our teachers really understand either.
So, if we take a fair look at Kentucky's education spending, we do not rank last.
And anyone who uses that last place nonsense owes us Kentuckians an apology.